No.
Heck is cosplay. We have no mics, so if you can't hear, move on in. Otherwise, we'll speak loud. This panel is just about basically what it sounds like. What is cosplay? And we're just going to kind of cover a bunch of stuff, and then you guys can chime in if you have questions. On our panel, we have the illustrious Ryan Goff. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Ryan.
Sure. First time I suited up for a con was 1995, which is probably some people didn't exist then, I think. And at that con, that was a small con of about 3,000 people, and there were 4 people that were wearing costumes. So obviously in the last 20 years, there's been a wonderful shift where I call it the tourist to costumer ratio has just shot through the roof. So there's always somebody that wears the same thing you're wearing.
Yeah. And this is Brett Lonsweb.
Oh, this is Brett.
And Brett, what's your story?
Well, my story is I actually started costuming way back.
You got 1995 beat?
I have 1995 beat. My first costume at a con was in 1978. So,
well, there you go.
Is that when dinosaurs roamed the
It is. I rode my dinosaur to the con. I dressed up. I made a homemade Tusken Raider from Star Wars because I was all into Star Wars. And it was a lot of fun. Went to a little science fiction horror and fantasy con down in Garden Grove, California, right near Disneyland. And I was hooked ever since then. I met the production designer for Alien and saw lots of the designs before the movie came out. And met a lot of celebrities at that time. It was a lot of fun. But I seriously got into it right around the same time that Ryan did in the late 90s, and then in the early 2000s with the 501st Legion building Stormtrooper armor and doing Star Wars costumes.
Welcome. Come on in, folks. Grab a seat. We're all friends here.
Mostly.
Mostly, yes.
Mostly.
And then, of course, we have Abby Darkstar.
Oh, yeah. That's me. Sorry, I'm looking for a tissue because my nose, I've been sneezing. So, like, tissue. Not mean to be rude. Yes, I'm Abby Darkstar. I've been cosplaying or costuming for over 10 years. And, yeah, I got into it. I mean, I've probably been doing it for a lot longer. Probably ever since I was. Thank you so much. I won't blow my nose while I'm talking. I used to like throw on random costumes that I'd make myself and like pretend I was Poison Ivy, listening to the Batman soundtrack, and But I first really got into it. I think it was 06, 07, somewhere around there. I did a Anita Blake costume, and that was it. Down the rabbit hole I went.
Oh, I'm reading. I'm sorry. I'm Keith Zen. I got into this about the year 2000. Inspired to, I always love Halloween. Halloween was my favorite year. Anybody else here like Halloween?
Oh,
okay, cool. That was the one year I got to dress up, and favorite film was like Indiana Jones, so I wanted to do that costume. Eventually I did. That was my dream costume. And that was also my gateway drug costume. So, yeah. And then actually met these guys. We're moderators on something called the RPF, which is a replica prop forum, which is now more like 60% costumes. But we met through that, and it was like a meetup. We used to do these things called RPF prop parties, and everybody would bring out their collections and things they were working on, and they'd just meet up in a warehouse or whatever.
Warehouse.
Yeah, and
somewhere shady.
Yeah, it was a little backdoor deals, I bought a Blade Runner gun from one of those, so.
Yeah, that's
but anyway, so I met these guys through that, and then through that, I kind of whittled my way into the Star Wars universe, and then one thing led to another, and so here we are. So these guys are great authorities. They've probably tried and done everything, bled for it. Definitely burned themselves for it.
Yeah. All of us have a significant amount of resin dust in our lungs.
Yes, exactly.
I can guarantee you that.
It's gonna be cosplay lung in 10 years.
Yep.
They're gonna be like people are gonna be perishing from cosplay lung. The reason why we wanted to do this panel is because a lot of times people go, well, what is cosplay? And depending on who you ask, what genre of fandom they're in, somebody might give you a different answer. And so we want to not only just have like an open forum for you guys to ask questions about anything and everything, but also kind of give an overview of what cosplay is. Now, according to the technical lore of the land, cosplay started in Japan. It was considered costume play. and it was normally based in anime characters, and a lot of for the kids it was more like a role-playing game, where they would go to conventions and actually act out all their favorite animes. As it came to the U.S., now it was existing in the U.S. back in the 70s around the first comic book convention, but it wasn't called cosplay, it was just called dressing up. Or costuming. Or costuming. So you kind of had the difference between, you know, the Japanese anime cosplay kids, and then you had the rest of us who are all like, we're costumers.
Right.
We don't cosplay.
We're elitist.
You know, but as things do, they merge together, and people say potato, people say potato, and you just end up calling it something.
Yeah.
And that's how the term cosplay became mainstream.
Yeah, about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, media coverage started happening at San Diego Comic-Con. Anybody here been to San Diego Comic-Con ever? Yeah? All right. Yeah, okay. Well, then you know how crazy it is.
Yeah.
Well, the media also discovered how crazy it was. Once numbers started hitting 80,000 plus in attendance, it became something where the media was curious about it. What is this thing that's going on? I mean, that little tiny convention that happened in the mall with 20 people, that's nothing. But 80,000 people, there's something. Oh wait, Arnold Schwarzenegger just showed up. Well, okay, we're all going down. So the media came down in their trucks and they lined up in front of the convention center and they started talking to everybody. And obviously, cosplay just made sense to them because it was a catchy term that was easy. And costuming, by definition, was used in the industry, in the filmmaking world, of somebody who was making costumes or assisting in the making of costumes for production. So cosplay was born, and not everybody adapted to it, but this is the term that we use.
You're looking at them, like they're proponents, like they're striking no to cosplay.
So before we move on, anybody have any questions about that or any input, anything? All right, cool. All right, next subject.
So, like right now, cosplay is known throughout the U.S. At every single convention, at almost every single geeky event, you have somebody in cosplay. How many of you are going to see the new Star Wars? How many of you are planning to wear some sort of Star Wars related outfit?
Yay. How many know you can't have blasters or lightsabers at the theaters? Yeah.
Or masks.
Or masks. Which,
No masks.
well, yeah.
Sorry, Darth.
Yeah.
You're out. So.
Elaborate face painting.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so mainstream right now, and people are accepting of it. There has been, and because of coverage in media, like there's been several reality shows and documentaries that have been on different outlets. People are aware of cosplay more so than ever, and people want to participate because they're like, holy crap, I can go and be Darth Maul for the day, or I can go and be Transformer.
I don't have to wait till Halloween.
Yes.
Or wear it in the privacy of my own home and hope that the mailman doesn't notice.
That was one time. Once. Gosh darn it.
Of course, then there's the flip side of it. And, when we have like our prop building, our workshops, these guys open up their garages and it's like people walk around stormtrooper buckets and there's blasters and there's all kinds of things
The
happening.
neighbors are doing.
Yeah.
Neighbors hate us.
Yeah.
A buddy of ours is actually building a 1989 Batmobile. And so every once in a while he'll have his garage up and people will they'll be walking their dogs or there'll be like a police car patrolling and rolling by and they'll stop and they'll get out and be like, is that going to be an 89 Batmobile? There's a conversation starter for you.
And that's one of the things is, like, a while ago, as far as cosplay or costuming, it was like this hidden lore. Like, if you wanted stormtrooper armor, you had to, like, oh, there's a guy in a garage in New Jersey who has a friend in the Midwest. He has stormtrooper armor. But you can't go on eBay. You got to email him directly. And if you know his cousin and it's a Tuesday, you can get some stormtrooper armor. But, I don't know, 10 years ago, people figured out, oh, cosplayers, they have money.
Yeah.
And, and
Those
I mean,
nerds that grew up are
Yeah.
now programmers and
Exactly, that's the other
technicians
thing.
for Google.
Yeah, they're not only do they have money, but they're all they all have decent jobs and income, and the approachability's gotten great. There's wonderful retailers as far as getting soft goods or hard goods, any sort of costuming stuff. A lot of things that you can secure that you had to do yourself even like 5 years ago.
Well, like now, the power of social media, most costumers in Hollywood are now on Twitter. They're now on Instagram. They're now on Tumblr. They have blogs, and they are more than happy to share their information. Zen's tweeted a couple of them going, hey, I'm making this costume. What model boots did you use on this character?
Yep.
And they've responded.
It was
going,
pretty
really?
cool.
I want to see.
They're thrilled.
I'm a big Justified fan. Anybody watch Justified at all? All right, a couple people. I wanted to be Raylan Givens, so I was reading an article and I saw the costume designer for the show, and her name was there. I'm like, I wonder if she's on Twitter. Stalk. And
We don't use that term.
so
Networking.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
That's a
networking.
better word for it. And there she was, and I sent out a random question. I'm like, yeah, so I'm kind of curious, and she's like, what? Do you want to know this? And I'm like, well, because there's this little thing in the world called cosplay, and people like to recreate costumes and then wear them places. She's like, really? That's awesome. She goes, I will check my production notes when I get home, and I'll send you back a response. And so she ended up sending me information about the belt and the boots. I already knew about the hat and stuff, but it was invaluable. It was the gal who did Game of Thrones costumes, and she's got a whole blog about it all.
We call it costume prawn, and I'm saying prawn because there's kids in the room, and you guys know what I mean. Rearrange the words. Because her blog is all the embroidery that she's done on those costumes, and it is breathtaking. And you're going, I am not worthy. I am not worthy, because it's just the amount of detail you don't even get to see in the show, and she just does it because it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's amazing the amount of detail that's in some of these costumes that you don't even see.
Yeah.
Because, it's a few second shots or they don't zoom in on or whatever. The detail doesn't need to be there, but it is. So you had a question?
Yeah. So when you email and ask for information, you ever get them back by sending pictures of the finished costume?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. They're always thrilled.
It's always polite to, when you finish a costume and you normally here's the finished costume picture. You thank people who have helped you. I got these boots from this person, or Ryan hooked me up with the plans for this, and and thank you so much to so and so who designed the costume and provided me with information. It's polite, to thank somebody, and if they are on social media, to give them the appropriate kudos there, because while they are famous in the industry, they may not be known by a name. Like, how many people know Robert Berger, the name? Like, not many people do. Howard, sorry.
Howard.
Sorry. See?
Oh, Howard Berger.
Yeah. But not many people, you go Howard Berger, they'd be like, who? And you're like, the guy that did most of the major, huge, horror makeups in, the movie industry. I know that much about that.
But yeah, no, it's we also try to encourage people to set a standard in being kind to each other and making sure that you do share. If somebody helped you out, then give them a nod. Some folks, these days, it's like, well, no, I don't want anybody to think that I didn't do all of it. It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine. You don't do it all. In fact, we can't all do everything. Some people are really good at what they do, and some days it's just like,
Yeah.
And that's actually, I'm
oh,
sorry.
no, I'm just pointing at that
I was going to say,
invisible
one of
guy
the
over there.
one of the advantages of the social media age that we're in now is back, especially in the early 2000s, everybody was very protective of their techniques.
A lot of info hoarding.
How they were making stuff, where they were sourcing things. But now with social media, people are, for whatever reason, they're feeling freer to share their techniques and to share their sources and to share anything where they got photos of, if they have photos of the original item, people are putting that up. I was in relation to talking to actual costume designers, and I was going to bring up, especially if you're into Doctor Who, who's loving Doctor Who? Yeah. Almost everybody who works on the modern Doctor Who are fans because they were in the old Doctor Who.
Right.
And when they found out this new one was launching, they all just flocked to it. And so they have blogs where they're putting out exactly what they're using for
With
everything.
numbers and dimensions.
With numbers, dimensions, sources,
Yeah.
where to buy things. They are in contact with the older wardrobe and prop people from the classic Who are, and they'll say, yeah, just contact this guy and he'll tell you. And they're just enchanted that somebody remembers that they did work in the 70s or 80s. And they love it. And they will tell you exactly where they got a thing, how many stitches are in Baker's scarf, depending on the season, depending on the show.
Yeah.
That information is all out there. And that's one of the great things of this era of costuming is you can almost do anything and do it exactly the way it was.
Of course, costume designers, not the designers themselves, but the production studios are getting crafty themselves, you know, how they approach things. Look at a lot of the Marvel stuff as a good example, or even the Warner Brothers DC stuff. They are going out of their way because they know that we're out here replicating this stuff, and we're fine. But you know, overseas companies are replicating it too and selling it and without licenses, and so they're making things super challenging. So you look at fabric for Avengers, Black Widow fabric. It's a raised ink printing, and it's a very specialized process that's done out of a printing house in LA. They have a contract with Marvel that they can't reproduce that fabric for anybody.
We tried.
Yeah. So
They were like, we can
Yeah.
send you something that's similar, but not the exact pattern. And we're going,
yeah, but so you're starting to see more of that now. And then back in the day, you know, especially Star Wars or Ghostbusters stuff, everybody used a lot of found items.
Yeah.
So you could reproduce things because you knew what the item was. Almost everything these days is being scratch built.
It's typically 3D printed.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
So-
you'll see on Blu-rays, because a lot of the nicer Blu-rays, they'll have beautiful high-res close-up pics of the props. You can see the striations. You're like, they 3D printed it.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But that technology is interesting. But like going back to the social media stuff, you know, there's a lot of fans that love costuming that have crossed over into actually making stuff
Yeah.
for a living. Our friends who run Anovos. Is anybody familiar with Anovos? They make all the cool Star Trek and
Star Trek,
Battlestar
Star
Galactica,
Wars.
Star Wars,
Stormtroopers.
and they just got a license for Ghostbusters.
What?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they
did.
did.
This week they announced.
They started out as fans. They were making, Viper pilot
Yeah.
suits from BSG in their hotel room at conventions for people and selling them. They were just like us, okay, we're just going to make these things. Oh, one person wants them. And then they got noticed for the quality of work because they were sourcing the actual materials, the actual colors, the actual dye lots. They were going to such a degree that they created a company, and now they have licenses from Lucasfilm to Warner Brothers to Disney because of something that was a fan-led thing that turned into a huge company.
And we're seeing that more and more now too, because fans are the experts, and a lot of times people are brought in as technical consultants into reboots of things or to new movies that are considered experts because of their own studies.
they're real good about that. Like for episode 7, the R2, and all they build multiple R2s. Those are 2 fans out of the UK. They're from the R2 Builders group.
And they built BB-8 too.
And they did, they helped with BB-8. Yeah, they
Yeah.
worked on that too. But like all the stuff is fan made. The Stormtrooper armor, all that's, for the next Rogue One, that's all done by initially what used to be fans.
So pretty cool stuff. So the next question we kind of run by is, who can cosplay? Anybody got an answer? Anyone? That's a good answer.
That's the answer.
Yeah, and sometimes people think there's an age limit, one direction or the other. We're living proof that there's not. Hey,
This is day 2. All right?
no, but there used to be a time in anime that when you hit 20, it was like Logan's Run.
Yeah.
The person started glowing, and that was it. You're out. It's time to retire.
You can't do Sailor Moon. You can't do this. You can't do Card Captor Sakura. It was like, no, you hit the limit. You can no longer cosplay.
Meanwhile, the rest of us over here, a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, I'm Obi-Wan," and how many people are thrilled to death that Han Solo's back in action?
Oh, yeah.
These guys are going,
Old Han Solo,
Yeah, I
old
could be
Luke,
old
yes.
Han Solo. And shows like Game of Thrones have opened up the doors to cool, characters that are of age.
But not
Walking
only
Dead.
that, you can adapt any character to be not only your body type, your age, the gender. It really doesn't matter. Cosplay is only limited by people who want to be judgmental.
It matters to some of us.
There's kids in the
No, that works.
here.
That works.
Restraining
That's
order.
you see that trend now where people they aren't like, oh, I can't do this cosplay because that was a dude or whatever, and now people are like, that's all getting knocked off the table. You do whatever you want.
I
And
do
it's,
what I want.
Yeah, exactly. And that's awesome to see. That's nice.
Ryan has been itching. Who here watches Archer?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan's been itching to do Pam.
Do it.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah.
So, because at the end of the day, it's all about having a good time. And so, if you want to get into character, be a why not? So, what do we got next?
don't know. We got lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered most of this because we're babbling.
We got things to think about.
Yeah, so what do you think? What do you need to think about when you're going into cosplay? I mean, that's going to vary on the person. I mean, some people are garnered towards budget, like they don't have a lot of money to create a cosplay, or maybe they have time as a limitation.
Comfort, maybe that's your
Maybe
thing.
comfort, you know, you might need to not.
Comfort.
No,
What's that?
we do. No, we're laughing about it because when people are like, "Oh, you just go to the bathroom," we're like, "Do you know how many layers I have to get?" or how I can't really sit in this costume, or yeah. So that's something. Don't do that. Don't do that. But it really depends on what your goal is. What do you want to do? Are you going for a super accurate Ghostbuster, or are you going for a more fan version of a character? Those things are. I mean, what do you guys think when people want to start cosplay or costuming?
Yeah, if I'm gonna start like a new one, I tend to find something that bookends like my skill set. Like, I'm gonna do this, and usually I want something that's get a little older, so I usually want comfort. I don't want to strap on armor or 3 or 4 or 5 layers of stuff.
Come on, you look great in Spanx.
Yeah, but traditionally, usually, the main constraint for me is buy-in. It has to be something that I want to do. It has to be a license or a franchise that I want.
Yeah, and actually, that's something really important. Is make sure it interests you. Don't just do it because your friends were like, "Yeah, get in on this thing with us." And if you're not interested,
Yeah.
oh.
I mean, certain things
But
are.
yeah, have the interest in it because that really will help get you through the process. Because you're going to hit peaks and valleys in the process of doing it.
Well,
No matter
yes.
how simple it is, you're going to run into issues.
Yeah,
And
you're going to spend $200 on something or
Yeah.
200 man hours. You don't want it to be something that you honestly could get care of 2 figs about. You're going to end up like just tossing out the window or crying.
Yeah, every costume starts fun, and then it becomes work, and then you hate it, and then you want to
Yeah.
burn it,
Yeah.
and then you hit like a plateau, and then suddenly it gets fun again, and then it's super awesome. Then you put it on and wear it the first time, and you hate it again.
Yeah.
Because it's pinching here and twinking here, and you're sweating like it's nobody's business. And then you figure out your problems, you adjust this, you get rid of those safety pins, and use something else, and then it's fun again.
Licensing issues, any cease and desists that you know of, or
I've had one.
restrictions in creating things?
The biggest thing to remember, the cardinal rule is don't sell it. That's really what it is. Intellectual property laws say you can make something, you can't make profit off of it. You can't sell it because it doesn't belong to you. If it's for your personal use, you can usually replicate it without any problems.
Now, of course, there's lots of gray areas
Yeah.
on there because you go on Etsy, you go on eBay, you go on lots of different things. Those people, as extremely talented as they are, if they are caught, they are violating copyright law. And that's something that if you are planning on going into a prop making business, you have to know what those laws are and what you can do. A lot of times, a lot of companies are very cool about it.
Yeah.
Bungie being one of them, Assassin's Creed,
The people that do Fallout.
Fallout. They love it when
that's
people.
great.
The more people are making their stuff, they're happy because they feel like it's free promotion. Fox, Aliens, Batman, Disney, no.
Yeah, pre Disney Lucasfilm was very good about letting people
Post-Disney
doing armor
Lucasfilm.
and stuff, but now they're cracking down on everybody.
But-
Well,
That's
and
the
also
thing.
what's happening as a result is because some of these things are becoming more popular, more mainstream, and because of our friends who now own businesses, and they've paid for licenses.
Yeah.
So it's those companies, their obligation to protect the people who paid for licenses.
Yeah.
So there's this catch-22. Now Ghostbusters is going to be a thing that's going to be a little trickier because I got a buddy who makes some of the best packs out there.
Not anymore.
But he's an advisor for the company who's now has the license, but he won't be able to really do that anymore because they own the license, and so obviously that's going to be an issue.
But owning a license or not, that doesn't stop any single person from making something
Right,
themselves.
exactly.
Yeah, that's never. And a lot of times when you make it yourselves, you made it for yourself. So there's accommodations, and you made changes, for comfort or fit, and it always looks better when you do it yourself. Almost always.
One of the things that we talk about in another panel that we do called Craft Your Fandom, which we're not doing here, but this is something to think about when you loving what you're building. And why this is in such small print, I have no idea. But this is something that we actually tell people. So you want to read it? It's the part where it starts from when we build.
What did you do to it?
Where's your
You
glasses, Jack?
can- No, you can just close the thing. Nemo, why do you do these
It's
things?
still not good.
What am I reading?
The small print, the one we build.
Where did you get this?
I don't know. Just here, give it to those guys.
What? They
God, don't give it to me.
Okay. When we build, we are telling a story. Every character has a story, and even if you say this is just a cool costume, irrespective of its intended context,
Intended. Yeah, Art wrote that.
okay, that costume alone still tells a
You gotta
story
read
that
it with an
speaks to you. I'm not, no. When choosing a costume prop, think about the story your costume tells. What is about this costume that appeals to you, and how do you want it to strike those who see it? Is it a character itself, Superman, Batman? Is it the wow factor, large costumes, complex costumes, sexy costumes? Is it the quality and attention to detail? What story are you telling? If you go into a project knowing the story you want to tell and reminding yourself of it as you go along, what is important and what is not will work itself out as you work your way to completion.
So that's kind of things to think about when you're building. So you go into it because you want to be that, or you want to build it, you want to own it, whatever your logic is. You know, I'm still working on a Ghostbuster pack because I've wanted one for
We
ever
need
and ever.
ya.
I know.
I got him the stuff 2 Christmases ago. I don't want to hear
It wasn't all the stuff.
Yeah.
It was just parts of the stuff.
But now, a
The
funny
internal
thing,
stuff's
to
expensive.
kind of get into that, what Abby just read about, what is your goal on a costume and what do you want to invest into in the character and stuff. Like, for instance, a Ghostbuster. What do you expect to see when you see a Ghostbuster? We know there are several groups of Ghostbuster people who, and mostly they work in groups because you help each other build things.
Strength in numbers.
Yeah, and the packs are very complex, and a lot of the props are complex, so it's good to help each other out. So we tend to gaggle together. But there are different groups, and we know a group of Ghostbusters in California, and technically, their stuff is great. Their outfits are dead on, their packs are dead on, all their props are dead on, but they tend to stand around with good posture, and they don't laugh, and they don't play the crowd, and they're just not selling it. And part of the fun of being a Ghostbuster, which is the reason we did it, is you can have a great time, and you joke with people, and you screw around.
The cheese factor is through the roof.
Because what was the movie? It was a cheesy comedy. So that's how it is. So that's really something to factor in when you're doing a costume. And that kind of overlaps into the cosplay versus costuming thing. And that used to be a big division, and it's not now, like you're talking about.
Well, and what was funny is, like when you going back to the cosplay versus costuming, there's a lot of people that are like, well, I do Batman, and I am not a cosplayer, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you pose like Batman? Mm-hmm. Well, yes.
You talk like
Do
it.
you talk like Batman?
Never.
Yes. Do you smile when you're Batman? No. Guess what, buddy? That's cosplay.
That's not
And then they just kind of look and they're like,
There's no Batman cosplayer. It's like, oh, Batman. It's like, yeah, you're a cosplayer. But I think that goes into, like, obviously, people are going to have their opinions, and that's one thing you have to be aware of when you are cosplaying. The internet is not always
the
kind.
internet.
The internet is not smart. The internet is not wise, and the internet is not good.
but everything on the internet is true.
Honey Badger don't care. So be aware. People shouldn't be rude. People shouldn't be unkind,
But they will.
but they will be. So be prepared. Protect yourselves. Armor yourselves mentally. Know the reasons why you are cosplaying, because that part that you put into it and that love you have of the character in the costume is going to be your armor against those poo heads. I really try not to swear. I'm not a big swear person, but I realize the more I try not to, how much I probably do. And there's children here.
But it's very true. And, one of the things I've discovered with the internet in particular, a lot of times it's people who are bored out of their minds, and they have nothing better to do than just be mean on the internet. And a lot of times it's people who have their own sets of insecurities, and they see something that they want to be doing themselves, or they wish they could be doing, or there's somebody who they think looks better than they do, or whatever, and sometimes jealousy plays into it. And misery loves company, so their job and the way of making themselves feel better is cutting someone else down. And when they do that, then they somehow end up feeling better about it. As long as you remember that, then it's a little easier for you to swallow that pill. Because
Yeah.
like I said, people can be cruel.
They're usually in two camps. It's usually that you can't wear X because you are this, or you made that and it looks like garbage. That's usually your two main criticisms. And those people, one, don't have the strength, courage, or ability to go out and wear a costume, and they don't have the effort or time or whatever to make something. So it's very easy to armchair quarterback and say your stuff's bad or you're the wrong kind of person to be wearing that. That's simple, but usually 99% of those people, they don't ever do this.
Yeah.
They don't have the skill, talent, or strength to do it.
That's when you ask, like, oh, I would love to see your
Yeah, what'd you
costume.
do?
You know, so, some person online was telling me how my Shanna the She-Devil was entirely wrong and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, really? Can I see your version? He's like, I'm a guy. I'm like, yeah, so you don't sew? Well, no. I'm like, then how do you know mine's wrong?
And that's when the sass
Like-
comes out.
Right? That's nice.
Yeah, so that's the internet for you.
And so,
Did that? Yeah.
the tutorial resource, let's go.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to ask?
All right.
How often do you cosplay?
Every day.
Actually, she's not lying. She's got a spirit hood that she wears on, public transit to work. So
I actually really do. Like I have a fox hoodie that I wear a lot, and I have a toothless hoodie, and then I have a Smurlock kigurumi that I wear to work. See, I work in a very San Francisco office, so like you can wear whatever you want, and it's just people's looks on public transit when I'm like sitting there in my like toothless hoodie, and I'm just like, they're like, what are you wearing? And I'm like, I'm a dragon. But I mean, I think for like actual going to cons and cosplaying, we try to do it like every couple months. I mean, I know us.
Yeah.
Well, you guys go to whatever's local.
Yeah.
And then we
the bigger ones.
we haven't gotten to do it as much, but we all used to do charity visits. So like Make-A-Wish, Shriners, the Burn Unit, or Child Life Center, or other types of things. So we can be in costume, but then we're bringing that fun to somebody else. And I know you guys have done Ghostbusters there before.
Yeah.
And,
And as far as how often you costume, a lot of your stuff bleeds over.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wear these boots to work. This is the watch Steve Zissou has. Somehow I managed to end up wearing this. So you might not be wearing stuff, but you're wearing components you bought for costuming, not because
I wear a
it's
Stargate
clothing.
jacket every day. I just take the patches off of it and I wear it every day.
my Indiana Jones boots I wear daily.
Guys are awesome.
I wear my Indy jacket a lot, and it's always fun to be like in like Starbucks. If someone walks in like, is that an Indiana Jones jacket? And that, trust me, that happens. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there's also there's the new crossover with geek fashion becoming so mainstream where people, the Disney bounding where you can kind of make your outfit look like you're a Disney character. That's translating into Captain America, into, whatever character you like. And there's so many awesome geek companies, especially for women and men, that, you can buy a dress that looks like Khaleesi's from Game of Thrones, but it's an actual just like A-line dress. It kind of looks like it, but doesn't look like it.
Right.
So people are like, but you can wear it to work.
There's companies like Her Universe who now are in the Hot Topic. They have licenses, so they're actually doing it. You can have like the Han Solo dress or the Chewbacca. So there's lots of cool, fun things out there. And even for guys, there's tons of stuff that's out there now. You could get the Punisher sports jerseys. Or, there's really a lot of cool stuff. What's that?
Good question.
Scarlett, did you have a question, baby? Okay. What was the question?
So cute. Why do you like dressing up? I always wanted to know that.
I like dressing up because my best memories growing up are my dad and I watching cartoons and reading comic books and going watching Star Wars and Star Trek. And those memories every time I dress up, make me think of my dad. So that's why I like dressing.
We're working on getting them out to see Star Wars.
Thank you.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, next. What's next? Yes.
Here, go.
Oh, sorry. On average, depending on the costume, how much time do you put into it?
There's a.
It really depends on the costume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many marriages did we go through? No, I'm kidding.
He's not kidding.
He's not
Do you have an example of maybe your longest?
What are you looking at me for?
Because
I
we've
know
probably
you-
done the same. We've done the same amount of hours.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna field this question.
It depends. Yeah, there's always this classic. It's like this. You weigh it this way: how much sweat equity versus, I call it checkbook it. Like there might be an
Yeah.
item component where I could spend 30 hours and do it, right? Or I can drop $100 and checkbook it, right? And it's one of those things. How much is your time worth? I mean,
Yeah.
30 hours is
But
a
at the
lot.
same time, there's a lot of time spent researching, sourcing the materials,
That's the
and
hidden
or
hours.
making it, or waiting for it to arrive. I mean, I think for generic costumes, say like this Tomb Raider, where a lot of the parts were sourced from already existing pieces that they use either in the movies or in the comic, which is funny because they actually outline what type of boots that she wore in the comic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. Adam Hughes did a whole thing on it. So for me, this was maybe 30 hours because I sourced most of the pieces, but I made all the leather work. So
Well, the leather work took longer, but I mean, yeah, I guess maybe total of 50.
Total
but,
of 50.
And when you think about it, in that other panel I talked about, we do something that it's a project management circle or 3 circles called good, fast, and cheap.
Yeah.
You get to pick 2.
Yeah.
you can do it good, you can do it fast, or you can do it cheap. So do you do it fast, or do you do it good? You know, so you have
Yeah.
to weigh
So
what you have.
you can, if you want something to be cheap and you want it to be fast, then it's not going to be very good.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of how you weigh things into it. But you know, there are some people who build and they build for quantity. And you'll notice there's some people that enjoy costuming and they'll have 3 to 4 new costumes at every single con they go to. But there's no way to maintain your quality at that speed. It just isn't. You're putting too many things out at once, and unless you've got a whole team of people working on it, it's just
Yeah.
not going to work out that way.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Some
And
people
that's
don't want to wear
fun.
the same thing
Yeah.
twice. That's
I mean,
great.
that's fun too,
Yeah.
because you get a lot of variety. But then, like us, I mean, the costumes that we build, we tend to build them to be used for years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have been doing Ghostbusters off and on.
Oh,
for
many
Yeah, but
years.
the packs,
Yeah.
they're not static. They change as.
Yeah,
The
and there's
packaging
always
and-
some little thing.
And you were
that
asking about how many
upgrade.
hours goes into it. Those proton packs take, what would you say? If you, I mean, they took like a summer to build, but
Yeah.
if you did in straight hours, it's probably
Yeah.
high tens, probably 80 to 100 hours.
I don't know. I learned how to use a metal lathe,
Of
so it was
build
like a
time?
tutorial for me too. So I
Yeah.
sunk a lot.
Yeah,
of
mine
time.
took me I did mine mine took me about 4 months to assemble, and I did it over a summer where I was working out pretty much every weekend.
It also varies on. There's a lot of folks out there that don't have regular jobs. Maybe they're in school or,
Yeah.
or whatever, or independently wealthy, and so they may have a lot of time. And we all work, so that's going to factor in. We don't have as much time in the evening and daytimes, but weekends we're. So, you count all the hours, and it can vary. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say minimum, at least 20 hours. You know, when you factor in the pieces. Yeah, well, as long as we're talking.
So, for someone who has never cosplayed before, doesn't really have the crafting skill, what would be their first step?
Still finding something that you like, but considering trying to think within your own set of skills. So if you have a budget, and you always need to look at what your budget is. If you have money, throw money at something. You know, if you love something, if you love Star Trek, for example, and you've got the budget, go to a Novos, buy a cool Star Trek. See, you're done, and you'll be happy, and you'll look awesome. So that's one option. The other option is if you don't have the money,
You wanna
then
learn.
there's something that's called closet cosplay. You go into your closet.
It's Disney bound.
Yeah, and you look, yeah. But, I mean, a lot of times, like, you're a fan of Supernatural. There's a good chance that you can put something together that looks like Sam or Dean
In your
without,
closet.
yeah, in your closet.
And there's also like if they want to start, say someone's really good at drawing or they have really good math skills, they might be great at patterning and they just don't realize it. There's so many tutorials online on YouTube, on the RPF,
Yeah.
on just there's so many great resources that you can learn just from your own home, and that's something that they could start out with something simple.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great tutorials, like she mentioned. There's more what's called ebooks. I don't know if you guys are familiar with ebooks, but there are prop makers and costume makers that are putting out ebooks now that are great how-to guides. Best $5 you'll spend on learning how to do something super simple.
Foam,
Oh,
Warlock.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and let's not forget probably the greatest source of costume items, probably the easiest place to go, thrift stores,
Yes.
Yeah.
antique sales,
Swap
things
meets.
like that,
Stuff
swap meets. You can find so many items at unbelievably low prices, especially if people don't know exactly what it is. They don't know that you're after a certain thing.
Well, and you know, where there's a couple places in LA, and obviously you'd have to travel, but there's a place in LA called It's a Wrap.
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah.
Every theatrical and movie production these days, almost everybody sells off their costume stuff at the end. It used to be a time where everybody would hold on to it for a while because they might want to reuse it in another film. That doesn't happen anymore. So you can walk in and buy something from, I don't know, John Carter of Mars, where it's all the extra costumes. And the whole store, this whole wing is from that production.
Yeah.
And it's close to Halloween. They've got everything marked 50% off, and you can get a really cool outfit for dirt cheap. You know, whatever dirt cheap is. I know I saw a question. Just there you go.
Do you have any horror stories or
You'll have to be more specific.
Yeah. How horrible.
when you're at a con, something
Like-
that, or while you're costuming,
Like the costume breaks or like.
stuff like that?
I can vouch for that. We did armor really early, and it's not much of an issue now, but back in the day, people thought it was funny, because your visibility is limited. So people think it's very funny to hit a trooper in the back of the head or smack him in the back. That was really common initially. I can say nowadays I don't think I've ever seen anybody at a con. You know, when someone has their bucket on, where, you know, but I remember back in the day, you would, at a few events, you had some drunken yahoos.
People used to run by and flick my Batman ears.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And which is the same thing, because if you're looking at the world like this, you have no idea who that turd was.
And as Batman, you know, someone come by, they flick your ear, you can't hear whatever, but you can't move your neck, so you're like,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I think the respect level's gone up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because it is mainstream, the media latched onto it, merchandisers and the franchises want to take as much disposable income as you have. You know what I mean? So we're not pandering to the franchises are now pandering to us.
But there's definitely been experiences like I've worn armor and pop rivets. You'll be walking along, and then the part goes blink. You're like, You're trying to hold the parts up, and then you're like, all right, I'm just going back to the room. Meanwhile, the room's like 2 blocks away, and your parts are, on my, I think it was my Iron Man, and the way the codpiece system is run, there's a connector in the middle under. Between my legs.
Oh, really?
And that broke, and my codpiece goes, boom. Embarrassing moments.
And then it's, babe, can you? I'm like, excuse
Yeah,
me.
like, can you?
I need you to. And, no, while we're in public too, and I'm looking at him going, "You're."
But that's going to happen. And
Yeah.
it's just one of those things, just be ready for it. Your first couple shakedowns in a costume, that's when you're going to find out anything that's not quite right or that's going to go wrong, it's going to happen.
We really recommend you run around in your house.
Yeah, if you're
Big
doing armor, I mean,
Yeah.
I've done this. I've put on armor and walked around the house for 3 hours.
Walk around the house. Go
Yeah.
up and down the stairs.
Coolest guy in my neighborhood, tell you what. But and it's a good trial, because in hour 1 I'll be like, oh dear God, this is pinching my knee and it's already like starting to bleed.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that, as opposed to on the floor and my car is in some long-term parking. Ugh,
I think that happened to me in my Cecile Sean boots the
Yeah.
first time, because I had a company custom make them because the leather had to be tanned for the pattern. So I don't have a leather tanning thing in my house. I wish, but California law. And so they had made the boots, and I had just gotten them like a week before. Which, don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't get your costume parts a week before an event.
It happens when you're depending on people to get things done for you. Though.
Yes.
It doesn't always work out the way it's
pad
supposed
your
to.
schedule. So I put the boots on. We're at Comic-Con, and I love my Cecile Sean. Like, it's like one of my favorite costumes. And all of a sudden I'm realizing, I'm like, my ankle's hurting really bad. Okay, starting to limp.
Why does my boot feel wet?
Why does my
Sorry.
boot feel wet?
Yeah.
We, about hour 5, we got up to this top floor, and I'm like, Keith, you got to take off my boot. So he had to take off all the armor I have on my boots, take off the boot. My sock, I had 2 layers of socks, were soaked through with blood because the leather had settled into a crevice and was rubbing raw on the inside of my leg. And it took me about 3.5 months to heal the gash that I left behind.
This gentleman back here had a question.
When you're at a con and you're you're away from home, what are the 3 or 4 important items you should have just in case you should have an emergency?
We bring a toolkit.
We bring a
Yep.
toolkit.
Yeah.
Safety pins.
Sewing kit, safety pins, duct tape,
Hot glue.
Hot glue.
adhesives, different, like 3 different kinds of adhesives.
Resin, two-part epoxy,
Yeah.
Toupee tape.
toupee tape.
Oh, yes, yes.
There's these awesome things called silicone socks. They're actually like silicone heel cups and toe cups. Dancers use them. I put those in my
don't I know about
costume shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just discovered them because I was having because certain costumes require certain types of shoes, and you just can't get away with making those comfortable no matter how many inserts you put in. I found these things online and I went, holy wow, hey, I'm not getting blisters.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, my big discovery in that same thing is at Target, they have these athletic socks by Champion. And they're like $11 for 3 pairs. They come in black, white, and red, and they have built-in gel padding.
Oh, nice.
Oh my God! Yeah, best discovery ever. Yeah.
But depending on like for example, like if I'm going to a convention and my costume is primarily armor where I know I've got it riveted and I've got leather and all that, I'm bringing my rotary punch, spare rivets, some Chicago screws, and sometimes even the rivet gun itself.
Yeah.
Because if those fail, none of those other things I had, the hot glue and stuff's going to get it done. So it depends on what I'm traveling, but our base kit is, the hot glues and the
If you're not flying, you can bring as much as you want.
Yeah.
You can
And
bring anything.
Amazon Prime is your friend.
Yeah.
Because if you can't get it, at least know, okay, I can't bring a rivet gun on the plane, or I can't bring this on the plane. You Amazon Prime it to the hotel. It's there when in case you need it, and then you can ship it back in a little $5 container to your house. We have like 6 rivet guns.
Yeah.
A couple more questions
Yeah.
because we are actually running out of time. So, fake.
For each of you guys, how many costumes have you guys actually made?
Yes.
Now, is it own or made?
Made.
Okay.
Like 100%?
Like still have? Like at the house?
Do storage units count?
Like at least 75%.
That's a good question.
20, 25?
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you take my Indiana Jones, there's really no way to make Indiana Jones and be authentic at it. So that's a sourced costume. You
I think
assemble
we're
it
getting
and you
too
distress it.
granular.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me,
Finished
I've probably
costume.
done at least.
I think, yeah, let's
Finished
say that.
costume.
Yeah, I'm going to
Finished
say I've
complete
probably got,
costumes.
20 plus in there. I
Yeah.
kind of stopped counting.
Yeah, I probably do.
That
I
doesn't
retire
include
stuff.
Fluff,
Yeah.
fluff costumes.
When you
Yeah.
retire, you sell.
And when we say fluff costumes, we mean the ones we just throw together to go have fun in.
Yeah.
35?
Yeah.
Around there?
Not all of them we still have. But
Yeah,
some
they
of
get
them-
retired.
Yeah, they do get retired. 'Cause some of them you can't wash.
Or fit in anymore.
Sure. Yeah, or,
What are your
All of mine
favorite
are too big.
costumes?
Okay, everybody asks that question. I'm like, it's like asking a parent who's your favorite child. You know, and it's like you want to say one, but then the other one's gonna be mad at you.
As soon as I said it, I'm like,
I-
you asked me which.
A lot of times for
Clarify,
me,
okay,
each
okay.
costume means something different. Like where I was, like my Satil Sean was really when I was reconnecting with Star Wars, and I felt that hope that character embodies. My Poison Ivy is the first costume I ever did, and kind of enabled me to grow into my body as a woman. My Black Widow, where I met him. So.
And you brought Black Widow out this weekend
I
because she wanted to do
Yes.
a photo with you.
Yes. I think Poison Ivy will always be my favorite because it's the one who helped me build my confidence and accept who I was as a person. So I think Ivy will always be it.
How about you guys?
I'm wearing one of them right now.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. I think you get like ADHD. It's sort of you really love it for 4 or 5 years, and then there's something new, and then it kind of goes away. So things kind of go in rotation.
It's also the memories that are attached
Yeah,
to something.
yeah.
Like when you do
Absolutely.
a group costume with a bunch of friends, and then you have those amazing memories. Like we did an Archer group at DragCon, and we were giggling the entire. Like it was just all of us just throwing together these silly costumes, and we were giggling like little
it was
maniac
ridiculously fun.
5-year-olds the entire night,
I was
just
there.
quotes.
Well, I remember remember when you joined us with Ghostbusters when Kenny and everybody
Yeah, we had
at
a-
Comic-Con. It was one of the first times he had worn a costume without a helmet.
Yeah. Like
And-
first 4 years, 5 years was mostly Star Wars, so I didn't.
And he's like, I kind of like having my face out. And then suddenly everything thereafter, you
Yeah.
start doing like,
Yeah, then the hell with
Hot
helmets.
Fuzz
Yeah.
and
Oh, Hot Fuzz, I forgot. Yeah, I have a friend by Randy who looks just like Simon Pegg, and I used to be a lot fatter, so that I was like 60 pounds fatter. So we did Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, and I forgot I did that.
Yeah.
37.
Anchorman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
Anchorman.
Anchorman. And that I think the culmination of costuming is when you start and you go, you meet wonderful friends, and then you do a big group costume, and that's kind of like, you hit it.
And these guys do some stuff, especially at Dragon Con, and they pull out all the stuff that you don't even think about. Like the one year they did Kelly's Heroes. And their
That was
Walking
good.
Dead group
Had to
is
shave my head.
ridiculously amazing. Like when he turns himself into Merle, you wouldn't even recognize
It's
him.
actually kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did Caddyshack.
I do
last year.
sleaze
Yeah,
well. Oh yeah, we did
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack. Yeah, that was great.
Oh.
Yeah, that was awesome.
You had a question.
Yeah, you ever do anything with Pepakura?
If we can help it, no.
I vacuum form.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, remember that good, fast, cheap chart? Pepper Cur is on the potentially good and cheap side, but it is not
The
fast.
people that do Pepakura, I am like, oh my god, you have the patience of a saint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the
Because
patience
it's,
for it.
it's origami. It's a gigantic origami puzzle project that you have to spend over and over and over and over.
I think
and
foam
over.
and like Warbler is pushing
Thermoplastics,
Pep to
yeah.
the side
And
because it's
what's-
just instant results.
A lot of the people who were doing PEP or trying to do PEP have graduated to making what they call foam files. So if you go up to the RPF,
Yep.
there's a whole section for foam files. And it's people who have made patterns for foam that you can then print out and
Okay.
use them as templates to then cut your foam out
Just
and
like you would
assemble
for a
it.
pattern
Yeah.
paper.
Saw one of the guys in there doing metal breastplates, so he did a Pepakura as just purely as pattern breakdown, so that you could get the pieces cut and then kind of put them together.
And they do that for scalability. You're right. They'll like print it out, fold it, not a super detailed one, and they'll be like, this is 3 inches short. Which if you had started in metal, you know.
Yeah, yeah. There's some that using that kind of tactic. Now, I don't know if Pepper is the best, but I think the foam files because there are less of them. So then it gives you some basic blocks. So now instead of having 30 pieces, you've got 15.
Anything. Yeah.
Keep looking at this thing that's supposed to be.
Your
my
vortex is not.
Are you trying to-
Doesn't do that, Jack.
All right, I'm out of here, guys. All right, yeah, it's about that time.
So if you guys have any other questions, we will be at our
Yeah.
booth 429. You can come by, ask us questions.
Oh, you got 10 minutes.
No, wait, it's
No,
like,
it ends at
We're done.
42.
All right.
So the next
Okay.
one.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
very much.
429. Come by. If you got more questions. Thank you so much.